Hi, this is John Rowell for the Rowell Report. Today is Tuesday, November 18th, and there seems to be a tragedy unfolding. Ukrainian refugees who are in the United States are now being returned to Ukraine, a country that is mobilizing um, men between, I believe, 23 and 60. So those men that are being deported to Ukraine will more than likely be judged fit for military service and mobilized, and could certainly lead to their um, deaths within a short period of time. So anyway, here is the news story that I saw in Ukrainska Pravda. Pravda means truth, and Ukraine truth. So here is the Ukraine truth, the truth according to Ukraine. So we have U.S. deports 50 Ukrainians now being processed at border with Poland. So anyway, we get into this story, and it talks about only the number. It says today 50 citizens have been brought back from the United States of America. In some cases, they aren't citizens because some were born in Ukraine when it was still the Soviet Union, before the state of Ukraine was created. So the modern state of Ukraine. So anyway, this is a surprise for refugees to be returned to a country that is currently at war. And so anyway, all they're saying is that they're being processed, and at the moment we're also establishing the circumstances under which a decision on their forced deportation was taken. So background. It was reported earlier that the Trump administration is preparing to deport a significant number of Ukrainians with final removal orders to their war-torn homeland. So my suspicion is that many of these are being returned to Ukraine for mobilization. And so if that is the case, then Ukrainians are being mobilized from the United States. This would be a violation of their human rights. But anyway, this may not be the case. So we're going to get into this story a little bit more. So here we have NPR, which is National Public Radio, and of course this isn't radio, this is a website. So they have their own website, and it basically repeats the same storyline. U.S. deports dozens of migrants to Ukraine amid war. So are we going to learn anything more about these? They took a flight from the U.S. to Poland near the border, and then were delivered to the border with Ukraine. And so, well, since 2022, the U.S. has, ICE has deported 105 Ukrainians in total. So the numbers are going up. So if in these past 3 years, 105, that's 30 some per year. So when you deport 50, and it looks like the total is going to be 80, that's almost the total from those past 3 years. So we see there's a change in policy. So anyway, we try to go down here and find any information. The Trump administration originally wanted to send 80 people, according to the Ukraine's ambassador. So the ambassador to Ukraine, she should be, I imagine this is a woman's name, Olga. She should be fighting for their human rights as a representative of their country. But anyway, we move down in this article. Immigration lawyers have raised concern that those deported to Ukraine could be conscripted to fight in the war. So here they have 25, I think it's 23 to 60 are eligible to be drafted. And some women and younger people have also volunteered. And we know in Ukraine what volunteer means. It means being grabbed from a bus or in the street, pushed into a van, and there you go, you volunteered. While U.S. law permits deportations, including to countries that people are not originally from, domestic and international laws prohibit deportations to a place where someone may face violence, persecution, or torture. So basically, if that's the case, then the Trump administration is violating the law. And we go down this article, and it just talks about other deportations. See if we can find anything more. So basically, they registered them at the border. So if there's someone who was born in the USSR before the modern state of Ukraine was created, then really what are they being registered with? And so let's see now. And we have this last statement. A spokesperson, I don't know for who, said Ukraine would accept any of its citizens, of course, because they need men to be mobilized. The embassy did not answer questions regarding what would happen to people deported. So the government, which we pay for with our taxes, is not answering questions. So here is, they talk about Roman Sorotsev. Anyway, he's in the process of being removed and sent to Ukraine. Let's move on to another article, see if we can find any additional information. Here's RBC Ukraine. U.S. deports 50 Ukrainians. So, again, if they were born in the USSR and were never Ukrainian citizens, then they're not Ukrainian. Maybe in a generic sense, but not a citizen. So, and then it says border guards reveal details. So we go down this article, and says Western media previously reported that the U.S. intends to deport about 80 Ukrainians. These are citizens who violated the law. We will see that in one case, the person served time. They violated the law. They served time, and then the conviction was expunged from their records. So this isn't someone being deported because they committed a crime, and instead of trying them in the United States, they hold them and then deport them. So this is also a stretch to say that they violated the law in the sense that it assumes that the person would be tried somewhere else or would face justice somewhere else. Some have already been to jail, so they served their time, and they possibly were showing themselves to be upstanding citizens. So anyway, again, there's no information about whether they're men or women. Again, here's more information. It says it's a delicate situation. This is from a next post from Nexta. I'm not too sure what Next is. Nexta TV. It's a delicate situation. On paper, these people are Ukrainian citizens, but in reality, many have lived as Americans for decades. Now they'll have to start over. Well, it's more than just that. If they're men, they'll be mobilized. So anyway, here is an article from the World Socialist website. Don't know if this is going to add anything. I'm just looking for information, whether these are men or women, or who are these people who are being, deported. So the first line on Monday, the Trump administration began deporting over 80 people to Ukraine, where they face conscription and martial law under the U.S.-backed Zelensky regime. So many have lived in the United States since they were children. So this, if they are conscriptable age, this looks a lot like the U.S. is now mobilizing Ukrainians from the U.S., looking for anything in their record to justify their return to Ukraine. So, anyway, this article talks about the mobilization, where they do home raids, street sweeps, random checkpoints, and this is to stabilize its collapsing military position. So anyway, we have Trump with Zelensky. We go down. So anyway, it talks about the flight back to the flight to Poland. So they will fly to Poland, and then they will be driven to the Ukraine-Poland border. From there, some will be conscripted into the Ukrainian military, which includes openly neo-Nazi and fascist battalions, and sent to the front lines. One of the longtime U.S. residents facing deportation is Roman Surovtsev, father to 2 U.S. citizen daughters and husband to Samantha, also a U.S. citizen. Surovtsev fled with his mother and 2 siblings from the USSR in 1988 after his father, a Chernobyl nuclear power plant worker, died of radiation poisoning. Upon arrival in the United States, the family members forfeited their USSR citizenship and lived in poverty in California. So they went from one disaster to another. As a child, Surovtsev helped his mother clean offices as they attempted to rebuild their life. So there he is. He looks like perfectly mobilizable age. Looks like they'll be putting him in military uniform and sending him to the front lines, which would be a tragedy. He has the 2 young children to take care of. That is certainly a terrible fate for someone to have survived Chernobyl, to return to Ukraine, to die another way. So I don't know if he's actually if he's actually deported yet or not, because they're making an effort to keep him in the United States. But you think he has a U.S. Citizen wife and U.S. Children that, so here is his children. This is certainly a crime to send him back against his human rights, to have him mobilized and die in this conflict, which Ukraine is losing at a very rapid pace. So, and here's a little backstory about him. In 2003, at the age of 19, he served a 13-year prison sentence after he and some friends participating in an armed carjacking of a motorcycle. So, 2014, he was released from prison for good behavior. Upon release, a judge ordered him to be deported and voided his green card. Lawyers for Surovtsev have since vacated his prior conviction, wiping it from his record. So really, it shouldn't have been in his record in the first place. Why did they say that he's a criminal and has to be released if he already served his time and is, is carrying out his life as an upstanding citizen, or member of society. Unable to deport him to Russia or Ukraine and recognizing that he had no citizenship, the U.S. government eventually released Sorotsev from ICE custody and issued him a work permit. He has complied with every requirement placed upon him and never violated the terms of his supervision. So he was under supervision. Sorotsev met his current wife in 2017. They have 2 daughters, aged 3 and 5. Since August, neither child has seen their father after ICE detained him during a routine check-in. So back in August, they decided that that must have been when, I don't know if that was the Alaska meeting between Trump and Putin, but when things started to go off for Trump with his relationship with Russia, he must have decided that that was a good time to start mobilizing people to help the Ukrainian military. So anyway, his lawyers, Eric Lee and Chris Godshall Bennett, stated that Ukraine is a police state and that the army is desperate for bodies. The Department of Homeland Security, enraged that CNN had highlighted its criminal actions, responded by accusing the network of running cover for violent felons, ignoring that Sorotsev served his sentence, has stayed out of trouble, his devoted husband and father. Under President Trump and Secretary Noem, if you break the law, you will face consequences. Criminal, illegal aliens are not welcome in the U.S. So, anyway, there was a propagandist for the Department of Homeland Security, McLaughlin, who tweeted, "Criminal, illegal alien." What more can be said about this case? Not a single politician has spoken out against the deportation. This includes the Democratic Socialist Bernie Sanders, AOC, Mamdani from New York, the Democrats, a party of the CIA and Wall Street, have supported war against Russia long before the 2022 invasion and throughout Biden's presidency. So, it says the silence of these phony socialists underscores that the fight to defend democratic rights and end imperialist war must be waged outside of and in opposition to the parties of big business and war. So basically, going up here, here is him with his daughters. There is him with his wife. So he got into trouble when he was, how old was he? He was 19, so he just turned, legal age. Did a carjacking, well, a motor jacking or cycle jacking, I don't know what you want to call that, and went to prison. When he got out, apparently he was displayed good behavior in jail, and so he has been out of trouble since. And if it's someone who doesn't have an obligation to put food on the table for children, and they just committed a criminal activity and show that they are not worthy of the U.S. citizenship or living in this country, I could kind of understand being deported, not to Ukraine, but deported out of the country. But deporting these individuals directly to Ukraine, a country at war, seems intensely wrong. And I certainly hope that his lawyers have the possibility of keeping him out of Ukraine, although with no one standing up to try to call this out, I don't know what his chances are. But anyway, he is a Chernobyl survivor, and and this is really unfortunate that he survived Chernobyl. It came to the United States, supposedly the land of freedom and opportunity, and now he's being returned to Ukraine, where more than likely he will die after being mobilized. So that is my report about this unfortunate case, and it seems to be the violation of his human rights and current laws on the books. So, it certainly shows us that the United States, which claims to be a country of laws and rights, is neither. So anyway, this concludes my video about, let's see if I can find his name, Roman, and we certainly hope that he can be safe, and we hope that there can be a mechanism to keep him from being mobilized. So anyway, and finally, if you are Ukrainian in the United States, you're a refugee, and you're a male between the ages of 23 and 60, or even if you're younger than that, it may be time for you to get out of this country. Go to Mexico. You won't be mobilized in Mexico as far as I know. But if they're mobilizing Ukrainians from the United States, looking for any little excuse to fill the rosters of the Ukrainian military, then and there could be kickbacks, between Ukraine and the State Department. I mean, really, what is 50 soldiers going to do for a military that supposedly has 600,000 to 800,000? So why the urgency to send these guys back to Ukraine? It's hard to say, but I would say if you're a Ukrainian, you may think twice about staying in the United States after today. So I would recommend maybe contacting, looking at your options and finding maybe another place to go. Of course, Mexico may not be any safer, but from Mexico, then you can take a flight from there to, I don't know, you can go somewhere else that's safe. I saw a Ukrainian who had escaped from Ukraine recently, escaped through the mountains, and now he's in Vietnam, so that might be a good place to go. But anyway, leave that up to you. And meanwhile, I will cut this video short before it gets any longer. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Thank you for joining me for this video today about Roman. Bye-bye.